Wonderful. So hello everyone and welcome to today's InsideLocal webinar. Today's topic is Enhanced Citations for Local Search Greatness. This is actually the fourth webinar in the InsideLocal series, and welcome back to everyone who has been with us before on any of the previous three webinars, and also hello to any people who haven't attended before. Great to have you on today, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us. For those people who haven't previously been on one of the webinars and who might have missed them, we have had three previous webinars to this, which were fantastic, and all the recordings and the slides are available to those. I'm going to ask Linda to post the URLs where you can see those recordings into the chat box and go to meeting now, so you can have them to kind of look back on if you weren't able to join us on the days themselves. We've had really good response, into the registrations for this webinar, and also feedback from the previous ones. And again, it's just great to kind of see so many people interested in the local space, keen to kind of find out more. And we really hope that today's webinar will be incredibly informative and useful in terms of understanding citations. We've got some great speakers with us today. Before I formally introduce them and unleash them on you, I'm just going to run through a few things in terms of what you can expect from the webinar. The agenda has kind of three sections to it. First we're looking at why are citations important, and actually I'm going to be presenting that piece of it. Then we're going to be looking at citation building strategy, and I'm going to hand over that point to Yaroslav, who I'll introduce in a second, to take us through that. And the third section is advanced optimization techniques, and my friend David Mosseri is going to be talking about his experiences and his escapades in terms of advanced optimization. So three sections. Each section has essentially a presentation and a Q&A. Just for the sake of time, we've got quite a lot to cover today. I'm going to do my piece, and then Nyaig is going to do his piece. Then we'll have a little kind of Q&A. Then David will jump in there, do his section, and that will hopefully leave us half an hour of Q&A time at the end. The webinar is being recorded, and while I say that, I'm just going to put my record button on, which I probably should have done some time ago. But anyway, it is now being recorded, so the webinar will be available afterwards for kind of anyone to kind of catch up on if you have to leave early or if you want to kind of recap. There is no webcam view today, unfortunately, due to some restrictions in GoToMeeting, and the slide deck we're presenting from today will be uploaded to slideshare.net. So if you don't catch any of the links we talk about, or if there's some of the detail you didn't quite get, don't worry about it. All the slides will be available to you immediately after this webinar, so you can just sit back, relax, listen to what we have to say, hopefully absorb some of the fantastic insights that Nyaig and David are going to give us, and then you can kind of follow up with the detail afterwards. And we'll be sending emails out with all the details and links, etc. to that. So, as I said, we have two guest speakers today. We have Mr. David Mosseri. David runs a very successful local agency called Hey Go-To Marketing. David is actually a customer of BrightLocal. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him a lot over the 18 months, and we talk regularly on Skype, kind of sharing ideas, and he's a great kind of feedback point for us. David's worked in the internet, mobile, and IT world for over 10 years and has great experience as both a consultant but also as a trainer. So I expect great things from David's section today. He has developed some very unique and powerful techniques for kind of supercharging citations and really doing some advanced optimization. So that's what he's going to be presenting. Yaroslav is also a very well-respected SEO and search blogger. He runs an agency called NGS Marketing. Yaroslav is actually Bulgarian but based in Malaysia, which is probably about the most unique combination of nationalities and locations I've come across. But he has a lot of customers all around the world, a lot based in the US, and he's built a reputation as a citation expert and published a lot of excellent articles and pieces both on his own blog but also on places like Search Engine People. He's a contributor to the local search ranking factor study and has also taught to SMX. And we feel very honored to have Nyaig today with us, mainly because he's obviously very experienced, but also he's based in Malaysia and it's currently 2 a.m. with him. So he has waited up to talk to us, fueled himself with coffee and Thai whiskey. So Nyaig, thank you very much for sharing your expertise and your time, and also thank you to David. And then you have myself and Linda. As I said, Linda will be answering questions in the text module as we go. So thank you very much, Linda, and also great thanks to Linda for all the work she does for those of us in the local search industry, with the kind of local search forum, all the kind of contributions, advice, feedback, and knowledge that she shares so willingly and willingly. And also myself, I run BrightLocal.com. We have a lot of our customers here today, so thank you guys for putting your faith in us. We hope we're doing a good job. For those of you who aren't customers or don't know about us, please do check us out. Maybe talk to some of our existing customers, and hopefully they will give us a glowing reference. Anyway, enough of the introductions. Let's just jump into the meat of the webinar. While I do that, I'm just going to have a quick drink. So, why are citations so important? Why are we, why are there so many blogs about them? Why are we so kind of conscious of them? And why do we spend so much time thinking about and kind of managing local directory listings? And, why are you guys giving up 90 minutes of your very important and busy days to kind of attend this webinar today? Citations are really all about data, about business data, kind of on the internet and in the data repositories which feed the internet. Data drives both the desktop web and also the mobile web. All local sites and services need data, as well as all local location-based services and apps. They all have a data layer, and often that data layer is around locations and businesses and other kind of local points of interest. It really forms the backbone of so many of these kind of location sort of sites and services. It's the same data sources which feed into the kind of desktop web as the mobile web, and these data sources are increasing. They're becoming more proliferated, but also the outlets are becoming more proliferated. There's new location-based apps are coming out on a kind of daily basis. There's a huge number of both niche, local, and national directories in every single country around the world. It's become a very fragmented and therefore quite confused and dissipated market. But this data is so important, partly because it forms the backbone of so many of the services that can be lead sources, but also ranking opportunities for our businesses and for our clients. But also there are more local searches being conducted than ever before. So there's more opportunity to kind of capture some of that local market, and data is the backbone of many of the services that cater to these searches. If we look at some recent figures that come out, this is some research from BIA Kelsey, it's that mobile is really driving the growth in local searches. What this chart here shows you is two things. One, it shows you the blue line is the kind of growth in local searches on a desktop, and the orange line is the number of local searches on a mobile. And we can see in 2015 there's going to be an intersect where mobile surpasses desktop, but it's not like desktop is dying off. The growth is slowing, but desktop's going to grow 30% between now and 2016. And if you combine those figures together, you've got nearly 170 billion searches, local searches, conducted both on desktop and mobile in 2015. It's a hugely dynamic, exciting, and kind of growth area for the internet right now. And and if data is the backbone for delivering so many of the results and the data that power these sites and engines, then that data is incredibly important, because it is the key to getting access to this audience, which drives customers, which drives success both for you as an agency, but also you as a business or for your clients. So some great figures there just to prove how important and exciting and how great it is to be operating in the local space. What I also did is look at some historical information from the local search ranking factor study, which hopefully many of you are aware of. And what this table shows you here is looking at the 5 years which that survey was conducted, from 2008 to 2013, and it looks at where citations are considered as a key ranking factor in that survey. Look back in 2008, it's in the 6th position. It's validation with third-party providers. 2009 is citations from major data providers. So it was always important back then. If we jump forward to 2013, we'd actually see there are 7 different mentions of citations in the top 40 ranking factors. So as an entity, versus setting up reviews or other areas of optimization, it has, it's become much more sort of fragmented. Back in 2008, it was 1 point in validation with third-party providers. Now it's consistency of structured citations, quality, authority, quantity of unstructured citations. And it's quite interesting, because this mirrors, I guess, the maturity of the local search market. Back in 2008, it was probably much more simple and more simplistic. Can people hear me okay? I think people are saying it might be a little bit quiet. Let me see if I can increase the volume there. Apologies if I'm not coming through too loudly there. So what's kind of proves is, as the local search market has changed and matured and become much more complex, so our understanding of what drives that has become more complex. We've had 7, where in 2008 we had 1 entry for citations. We've now got 7 entries broken down by consistency, quality, and quantity. So our understanding and our appreciation has got a lot more granular, and therefore it's a lot more complex to kind of manage and kind of deliver results in the local place. But what this does show is that citations are one of the foremost, if not the foremost, important ranking factor for local search. To kind of back that up, and also to kind of get a bit more information, we actually conducted a survey in the last couple of weeks, which was called the Expert Citation Survey. And what we asked was 17 local search experts to come and answer 11 questions all around citations. And we actually got a lot of the contributors to the local search ranking factor study to come and do that. And I'm just going to run through the findings of that because I think it answers a number of the key and common questions which people ask about citations. And I think hopefully this will be really interesting. This is not just my viewpoint and David's and Yaig's. This is 17 well-regarded, well-respected sort of kind of working SEOs, bringing together all their findings and understanding about citations. So a big thank you to everyone who contributed. This is a quick list of who's who of the contributors. The likes of Mike Blumenthal, Andrew Shotland, Yaig, David, Mike Ramsey, Phil Rozek, and a whole host of others who I have a lot of heartfelt thanks to them for taking the time to kind of contribute, and really do appreciate that. So of the 11 questions, this is the first one we asked, is how important are accurate citations to local search ranking? And we can see that 70% said it's critical, 90% said it's very important. So nearly 90% say it's absolutely one of the most important factors that we should be focusing on. So this should kind of put to rest any consideration that this might not be an important factor for you guys to be spending your time on. Second question was, are citations getting more or less important to local search ranking? And by the way, we will be publishing the findings of this probably next week, so don't worry about it, about kind of gathering hold of the data. It will be made available. This is the first time it's been kind of shown anywhere, but it will be made available to you afterwards, so don't feel that you need to kind of grab all the information right here and now. So yeah, are citations getting more important? Absolutely they are. 94% of people say they're getting more important or staying the same. They're not decreasing in importance. What is more important, the quantity or quality of citations? And this is interesting. So 60% is actually the quality of citations that is more important than the quantity. Well, 80% said they have the same importance. Obviously, both factors of both, but if you go back to this earlier slide here, which looked at the local search ranking factors survey, if you look in 2008 and 2009, and 2010, a lot of it was about volume, the number of citations. Do you have citations? Jump to 2013, it's consistency of citations, it's quality and authority. So there's really been a switch from quantity to quality in terms of how the kind of algorithms use citations to affect the data that they have about a local business, and how does that impact on ranking. So quality is by far and away considered to be the most important factor when based against quantity. Which type of sites are most valuable for citations? And here we just looked at sort of 3 examples. We looked at local directories, national directories, and niche and industry. And actually there's not too much to kind of pull between them. National directories obviously stands out there with 31%, and those are the sorts of sites like Yelp and City Search. There's high domain authority sites, which obviously carry a lot of kind of quality within them based on their size, their scale, and their brand versus smaller local sites. But what this shows is that, there aren't that many kind of large, powerful national directories, and so when you're doing your citations, you should look to build citations on both national directories, but also local niche and industry sites as well. So you shouldn't, you shouldn't be a kind of one-trick pony and just focus on one of these. Each of these different areas has value, and as we know, with a lot of kind of SEO, it's a lot about having, particularly with kind of link building, it's about having, a good link profile, which covers off a number of different types of sites of different quality. The same can be applied to citations as having a good broad mix of citations on high quality sites, but also relevant sites that are local to you, but also niche industry sites. Is it more important to update existing citations, which are wrong, or build new citations? Very interesting question that we hear a lot. 56% say you've got to do a mix of both, but actually 38% is actually you should build existing first. You're going to clean up that incorrect information, because that is having a really negative impact on your opportunity to rank. Just building new citations alone won't cut it. So that's a really interesting finding, because we get asked that question a lot, and I would definitely corroborate and kind of agree with the general kind of consensus here, that the quality and the accuracy and the consistency of data is become more important than the kind of quantity now. So cleaning up and updating and also enhancing citation information is now the most important thing to focus at least your initial efforts on. How important is it to merge or delete duplicate citations? Again, another huge issue and bane within many of our lives is how do we correct those pesky duplicate citations. And you can see here that actually the opinion is quite split. If you add the blue column and the red column, you get to what is that, 50%, and if you add the green and the purple column, you get to 51%. So the left-hand side it is important. The right-hand side is saying it's not that important. So people are kind of split here, and that's interesting, because we've talked about there's there's lots of discussion about the need to kind of remove duplicates, and Nigel is going to talk about that a bit more in his part, so I won't dwell on it too much, but opinion is definitely split on the importance of actually deleting and merging. And it may be the case that most people will find it such a hassle to do and so difficult to do that actually they'd rather focus on the areas that they can have more success in. Do you think it's best to build citations quickly or steadily over time? Overwhelmingly, the answer is build steadily over a period of time. Interestingly, if you look at the red column, the answer there was, depends on the quantity of existing citations you have. And again, that's very important and kind of similar to, to kind of when you go and build links. If you start with a new business and you've got no citations, you go out and build 200 in one day, then that looks unnatural to Google. It doesn't have a natural kind of citation profile as a natural link profile would have. But if you start off with 300 citations and you build 100, well, you've only added in, another 25% on top of that, and it looks less unnatural in that sense. But a lot of people have talked about, and we've got some good quotes here in a second. Great one from Mike Blumenthal there is, citation building should be an ongoing process and never end. And Susan says, we know building citations is quickly for new sites is essential, but equally citation building should be an ongoing process. A steady approach always wins with Google. And I think that's a great thing to bear in mind when you're tackling your citation plans, is that you've got to do this in a way that is natural, that is consistent, and it's ongoing. It shouldn't be one month hit and run type activity. It's got to be something you factor in on a monthly ongoing basis. Does address formatting need to be 100% perfect? And again, another big issue we have, does it matter if it says street or STE? Does it matter if it says suite or, a hash symbol? If it says S for South Street or it says South Street, does that matter? Interestingly here it says 50% of people saying it's important but not critical, while 31% it has to be 100% perfect. I'm always of the opinion that sites like Google that aggregate the data here, they're intelligent enough and they have enough intelligent developers to understand subtle differences in addresses. And their job is to get consistent, accurate data. And they get their data from a number of different sources, and I'm sure they're intelligent enough to work out whether the differences in suite. So my personal opinion is not to fret too much over it. Get the core address details correct, and a lot of sites when you submit to them will adapt and modify the submissions you make. So if you put in street, they'll make it ST. If you put in South Street, they'll make it S.street. Those things you often can't affect. So I would always advocate that you don't stress too much over it, because Google is intelligent enough to iron out and understand those small variations in kind of formatting and display. So not agonize over it is probably the key part. And that's kind of followed up by what Phil said to us. As far as address when it goes, different sites have different standards for abbreviation. This forces sites like Google to use their own standardized matching. The moral of the story is don't intentionally alternate between road and RD, but don't stress over it if it happens. These guys are paid a lot of money to develop sites that are intelligent and can work through these differences. Next question was, how important is richness of citations? So adding a description, adding photos, opening as, etc. 56% said it's very important, while 13 said not important. So I'd say, yeah, it's very important that you add this extra data so you get a rich, enhanced citation. It's good for customers when they're looking at a site, but also it's good to have that data so that Google can ingest that and can kind of qualify the information that it has about your business. And the final question we asked is how important is it to use different descriptions across different sites? As you've got a business description, can you use the same description on every site, or should you create different versions of that description to go onto each of the different sites? I had a number of different statements here that people could kind of pick and choose between. Interestingly, what I'm going to do is just going to isolate the ones where they said it is important. And if I show you those ones, basically 40% of people said it's important to have separate content or separate descriptions on each site. But actually look at the red column, 26 of those say it's only important to do on high-value directories. So you've got the likes of Yelp and City Search. Yes, if you're going to spend some time doing it, do it on those sites, but don't agonize it over for the smaller niche and local sites because it's going to take you a lot of time to kind of generate that content, and actually it's not going to have too much of an impact, at least not right now, on your rankings. Some people, 30% by the way, did say it's not important now, but it may be in the future. But again, we're all busy, we've all got a lot of stuff to do. In terms of focusing our efforts, I would focus on getting the core information right, cleaning up citations, removing duplicates if you can do, building new accurate citations, and don't spend too long agonizing over the description that you use. So that is my part of it, of the kind of presentation. I hope that was useful. We're not going to have a Q&A at this point in time. I'm going to hand over control to Nyaig now. Just give me a second while I do that. Where is everyone? Nyaig, coming your way in a second. Nyaig, hopefully you're getting that. I can see your holding screen there, Nyaig.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Miles.
That's all right. Can't quite see your screen yet. We can see. Okay, we can see your screen now.
Great. Okay. So can you hear me well?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. So hi everybody. My part of the presentation is related to general citation strategy, research, and implementation. In the beginning of the process of starting a citation building strategy, you really need to collect as much information as possible, either for your own business or for the business of your client. And you should definitely start with the name, address, and phone number, which is the holy trinity of local search. And these are the three main differentiators that differentiate one business from the other. And then there is a fourth element to this trinity, and this is the category. It's frequently neglected, and why it is important is because Google considers category as an additive rather than a substitutional information bit. So what this means is that if Google finds two different names for your business, in the end of the day, they will display only one name in their search results. But if they discover a category that is not already associated with your listing, they will most probably add it, and then they'll display all the categories rather than exclude some of them. Additionally, it is important to collect as much information as possible, including descriptions, working hours, email, website, everything that you could, because plenitude of business data is one of the most important ranking factors when Google determines the value of a particular citation. You also would need to collect outdated information for the business. So if the business relocated, or if they rebranded, or if they have been using different phone numbers over the time when they existed, you would need to have all this information pre-ready before you start the citation process, the citation building process. So after you have already collected all the information, you need to start discovering the already existing existing listings, existing citations for the business. There might be a number of already existing listings for the business, especially if the business has been operating for some time. This is because there is a very complicated ecosystem of business data exchange, which you could see on the infographic that is displayed right now. This infographic has just been posted today by David Mume on Moz's blog, so you can later go there and check it out. However, the situation is a bit more complicated even than what this infographic displays, because the infographic basically excludes one of the most important information sources on the web. And in general, I like to divide the information sources in 4 different tiers, depending on the importance of the particular information source. So the first tier information sources would be telecommunication companies and government organizations. So this is the tier that is basically not covered by the local search ecosystem infographic that I just displayed. The specific of this tier is that there isn't really usually any interface where you or your client could go to, and they could update their business information there, or they could claim their listing or anything like that. The second tier of business information generators is the tier of the business data aggregators. So the most famous ones are the likes of Infogroup, Rockerlist, Axiom, Factual, now that Apple Maps exists, and Factual is the main data provider for Apple Maps. the third tier of business information collectors are the major business directories, the likes of YB.com, the Citygrid network, Yelp, Local.com network, and tier 4 are basically all the rest. Now, after when you have why you have to have these 4 tiers in mind is because you really would need to stress mostly on you need to stress on the process of discovering listings on the highest tiers and then go down to the lower ones. Unfortunately, as I have already mentioned, the specifics of tier 1 do not really allow for much automated research work or even manual research work to be done on the tier 1 citations information sources. So that's why you should mostly be stressing on the tier 2 and tier 3 information or citation sources. Now, the discovery process could start with an automated phase. In this automated phase, you could be aided by a number of online software tools. These include GetListed.org, EX Local Search Scorecard, which is a free option provided by EX, and BrightLocal Citation Tracker. GetListed.org has deep relationships with pretty much all of the main tier 2 business data providers in the United States. EX has deep relationships with the majority of the main business directories, which cover the tier 3 of the business information ecosystem that I just displayed. And through BrightLocal, you could discover the majority of already indexed listings or citations that are part of the tier 2 and that are part of the tier 3 and tier 4 of the citation sources that I just described. The second phase of the discovery is the manual phase. Basically, as I already mentioned, it is very important that you really discover all listings that already exist on the most important data sources, so the ones that are specifically on tier 2 and tier 3. Additionally, there are a number of information sources that tend to have a lot of duplicate listings, so they tend to have more than one listing per business, the likes of Merchants.com, Mojo Pages, Yellowbot, etc. And then there are a small amount of business directories that are not really very well indexed by Google, and because a lot of automated tools rely a lot on Google's index to discover citation sources, it would be important that you pay special attention to these, because it is possible that you do already have citations on these. So these are the likes of Insider Pages, Kudzu, Brown Book. Additionally, it is good to make some further checkups, some further manual checkups, and the two main ones that they should be focusing on are searching for all the phone numbers that the business is currently using or has used in the past, and it is recommended that you use the format displayed, because this is the way which we have found that Google is displaying the most search results for. Additionally, you could use any combination of any business name or zip that the business has ever been referred to with on the web, so that you discover any additional citations that might have been missed during the automated process.
Yeah, it's Miles here. Sorry, just a couple of things I wanted to jump in there. We've got a couple of people saying that they're trying to download or kind of access the bit.ly links. Some people are saying they're not working. I think a lot of the bit.ly links guys are actually downloading documents. They appear not to be working, but actually if you give it some time, what you actually get back is a downloaded document. So they're also case sensitive as well, apparently. So make sure you've got the kind of relevant kind of capitals in there to get hold of them. So the links are working. They should be downloading. They are case sensitive. So hopefully that will put everyone else a little bit at ease there. And also actually just on your previous slide, Nike, in terms of how you kind of research and look for different listings out there. In our citation tracker tool, we do 2 lookups, with business name and zip code, and then also separately with phone number. And the benefit of doing that is obviously with different variations of business name out there, you can kind of come at it from 2 angles. One in the business name, but if the business name is different, or for example, if your client is a dentist or a solicitor, they may have lots of listings for each of the individual dentists that work within a clinic or a practice, but they might all share the same reception phone number. So by searching by phone number, you can locate those listings which wouldn't pop up with a business name search. So it's great to use those 2 different angles to try and look for citations, both the business name and address, but also the phone number. So anyway, I just thought I'd say that you're spot on there. It's exactly what we found in a lot of the citation research that we've done.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, and thank you very much for that addition, Miles. Something that I wanted to mention is that the citation tracker of BrightLocal has also one great new feature, which was rolled out just a few weeks ago, as far as I know. It allows you to look for additional outdated business address or zip code for the business, so that during the same search session using the tool, you could basically find a lot of outdated citations that feature outdated information as well. Okay, so after we are finished with discovering the already existing citations, we have to go to step 3, which is fixing, claiming, updating, and reporting citations. So the most important thing here is that you should claim all listings that are possible to be claimed, that are claimable. So the majority of the business directories, the high-end business directories, and the data aggregators do allow you to claim your listings and take control over them. Unfortunately, there are many of the tier 4, the lowest tier business directories that do not allow this. And then in these cases, if you do have a listing that is already found there and the information is incorrect, the only possible way to get rid of this incorrect information might be to just directly send an email to the website. Additionally, it is very possible that you might have more than one listing per business directory or per citation source, and then you would obviously want to clean up these additional duplicate listings. One thing that is important to be mentioned here is that I would suggest that you do not lose your time to clean up duplicate listings that feature already correct information. So for example, it is very possible that you might have 2 different listings that feature that both feature correct information. It is not really very harmful if this is the case. So if I were you, I was not going to lose my time to to try to get rid of the additional listing that features correct information. Now, after you are done with the cleaning up work, you should move on to discovering additional citation sources and additional opportunities that might have been missed during this process. So it is very possible that you might not yet have presence on a lot of the most important citation sources. There are a number of citation sources that are important for pretty much every business. So no matter what kind of business you are, you have to be listed on them. There are additionally citation sources that are important just for a specific industry or businesses that are located in a specific state or specific city. So you might also want to look into these by accessing the links that I have provided. Additionally, you would want to do some competitive research and see where your competitors are already listed, and again, the citation tracker could be a useful choice in this case. Now, obviously, during the process of discovering all these new potential citation sources, you might ask yourself which ones are worth my time and which ones I should be focusing on. So in order to determine which ones are the most important ones, you should look for a number of signals. the most important one of which would be how many of your direct competitors are already listed on the particular citation source. So obviously, if all of your direct competitors in your niche are listed on particular citation source, it should be important that you are listed there as well. Additionally, you should look for how many businesses that are in other industry, but for example, are located in the same city, are listed on some citation source, or other businesses that are in the same industry but they are located elsewhere are listed on particular citation source. Additionally, you should look into the general popularity of the citation source, and what I mean by this is that some citation sources are being generally mentioned across the web as good quality. There are literally tens of lists of potential citation sources. So you should look into this and see if there's something that you are missing. Additionally, you should look at the distribution. Potentially look for information for the distribution network and the size of the business information database of the potential citation source. An example of a big distribution network would be the Citigrid network, where Citigrid distributes business information to literally hundreds of online platforms. And obviously, if you get listed on Citigrid, that pretty much automatically means that you are listed on at least a few tens of other business directories. So in the end of the day, you get some free citation exposure. Additionally, you might want to look into how long it would take for a particular citation that you have set up to get picked up by Google as a citation. While this might be difficult to determine, there is a great research by Mike Blumenthal and David Mim that I have referred to here. Additionally, these are the more obvious ones. You should be looking into the domain authority or the page rank or the web traffic to the particular citation source to determine its general popularity. After you compile your list of potential citation sources that you would like to be targeting, you should start basically getting listed on all of these citation sources. And in order to do that, it could be a tedious work. It can really take a lot of time, and it's a repetitive kind of work. So there are a couple of tools that I really enjoy using in this process, and these are the Chrome autofill, or if you are not using Chrome, you might want to look into RoboForm. So these are a couple of tools that basically help you to automatically fill in similar information across a number of different forms. During this process, you would encounter a number of business directories that require form verification, and form verification can be a really annoying process because it might take some additional time, especially if you are an agency and you have to complete the form verification using the phone number of your client. So I generally suggest that you just save these for later, and you arrange specific time when you go through all of the websites that require form verification, and you just form verify them at the same time for all of them. After you are ready with all the cleanup work and all the new listing creation work, you should look into additional following up because you are not quite ready yet there. So 1 week after you complete the process, you should take a look at the email that you used for the submissions and for the updating and reporting, and you should check if there are any updates from some of the websites. A lot of the websites send notifications about they completed the action that you requested them to complete, or they might request for some additional information, or they might have some questions in order to verify your authenticity. So additionally, you should go through manually through all the listings that you have set up or that you have reported, because a lot of them might have already gotten updated without the website have specifically notified you about that. 2 weeks after you have completed the process, you should again manually go through all the listings, and after this, if you are already sure that action hasn't been taken on particular reports that you have made, for example, if you have reported some duplicate listings or some listings that featured incorrect information, you should try to resend your requests to the respective citation sources. And after three weeks, you should again check your email for any updates, and you should around this point you should already be completing the any postcard verifications that might have been required for some of the citation sources. Normally postcards arrive within 1 and 3 weeks, so within 3 weeks from the end of the process, these should have already arrived. And after 4 weeks, this should be your last check for any updates at this point. And if some of the requests that you have made haven't been taken care of, you should look into trying to basically report the URLs of the citations to be removed from Google's index. It is believed that if the URLs are removed from Google's index, Google will stop looking at them as citations, and obviously you would not like Google to look into citations for your business that feature incorrect information. So this is pretty much all from me.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. That was a really great kind of run through, and kind of what I really kind of take away from it is when you're approaching citations, it's a pretty long-winded process. It can be very time-consuming, but if you've got a right process and an approach that you can kind of cookie cut and replicate and go through each time, then it makes it a nice process that could be kind of replicated and gone through. So thanks for kind of sharing your approach with us. I thought that was really useful. We're just going to break for a quick Q&A now, and we're looking at some questions that were posted earlier to us. David, if you want to turn your mic on, and also Linda, we'll field some of these questions to you. We'll just do kind of 10 minutes of questions now, then jump over to David's section. A lot of questions coming through about the kind of quantity of citations. So Joy actually said, we've got an example customer who's got, say, 140 citations. Should they bother building any more? Yai, what would you say to that?
The more actually, as you have already discussed during your portion of the presentation, Miles, it is not really very important. Basically the quantity of citations is not really very important. So the quality is what is important. So if I had such a client, I was going to first cross check if they're actually listed on all the most important citation sources, and additionally, if all these citations that they already have are obviously consistent, if the information is correct, and if all these citations are already completed with information as much as possible. And other than that, I would say that there are very, very few niches at all anywhere in the world that would require a business to have more than 140 citations. So I think if everything is fine and all these citations are complete and accurate, I think on the citation side you are pretty clear.
Okay, that's great. David, a question for you, bring you into the discussion. We talked about, Nike said, if there are duplicate citations out there with the correct address details for a business, then to leave them because they're not really doing any harm. They're kind of actually reinforcing the address. But what happens, say, in the example of a doctor or a dentist, whereby there are 4 or 5 dentists listed, all with the same address, but not with a clinic? What would your approach be in that scenario, and how would you kind of affect the citations for them?
So you're referring to if there was 4 doctors in one location with the same address?
Yes, and maybe they're part of the same clinic, so actually maybe they're all genuine citations, but would that be confusing and kind of competing with each other in terms of optimization?
Well, actually, we've done this a few times, and this is actually a really good question because it's something that most people are going to run into. For example, I have a bail bonds company that happens to have 3 different bail bonds companies in the same address. And what we did is we basically created 3 different listings. When we created those listings, what happened was They were merged together like Google did at times. We got it figured out and solved. We showed that they're separate entities at the same address. We had to send them business licenses. And what they suggested, this came out of Google's mouth, is what we should do is make it like Suite A and Suite B and Suite C, even if there isn't suites. And I implemented that. So even though there weren't different suites, it's not like people are going to actually really mail by getting your address from there. Google gave us the answer, and we've used it now probably about 20 times. So whenever we're doing where there's the same type of business at the same address, we will make up Suite A or Suite B, or sometimes people use Suite 1 or Suite 2. That's how we do it, because everything in the past has gone to where it just merges it together. And each doctor wants the credibility, just like a lawyer would, to have their name there and to be able to bring in theirs, because you might have a dentist that deals with children, a dentist that's an orthodontist. So there's a lot of different dental practices, but I would try and create multiple listings because I love to dominate that first page, and the best way to do it is to give it different suites.
How does that work then if you've got all those different listings on Google, but one central domain that it links to? Have you found problems with that side of it?
No, actually what we do is, so say the root domain is, dentistlasvegas.com. We will do dentistlasvegas.com/Dr. Smith, dentistlasvegas.com/Dr. David. We won't put the same root URL. We will make a specific URL, so it kind of goes to an About Us page for that doctor.
Okay, great. That's great, David. Thank you. A question for you, and this is a question we get a lot, is about Yext, and you've written some great articles recently on Yext and some research you've done on them. Is Yext worth it? Is it a good system to use? And how does it stack up, say, against Localese, a specific question we had? So, what's your view of Yext? Is it worth the money? How does it compare against Localese?
Okay, so now I'm really getting this question quite frequently, and my answer will always be the same. It depends. It really depends on your case. Now, Yext, I have mostly written articles that are probably viewed as negative on Yext, but in fact they are absolutely not negative. And I'm trying to just express my genuine opinion rather than criticize anybody. So in general, Yext could be very helpful in the cases where you are just getting started and you just want a very big boost in the beginning in terms of your citations. So in this case, obviously, you skip the phone verification or postcard verification for a number of websites, especially the likes of Bing and Yahoo, which generally take quite some time. So Yext could help in this case. But if you have already already set up profiles on the majority of the websites that are covered by Yext's network, or if you have a very inconsistent business profile, Yext is not really not really perfect at dealing with this, because their system is pretty unilinear. So basically they discover only one listing per platform. So if you check through their tool, they'll discover one listing on Yahoo, one listing on Yelp, etc., etc. So in the end of the day, they do not take into account that it is very possible that you might have say 4 listings on Yahoo, right? So if you have one listing that is correct, and then they leave 3 listings, duplicate listings that are incorrect, obviously that's not job well done. So it really depends on the specific case. And now the second part of the question regarding the difference between Yext and Localese, I would tend to be bigger fan of Yext because of their speed, and because of their reporting. And this is the major flaw with Localese, that they do not have absolutely any reporting as per current on what actually happens with a listing that they post in their database. When does it get picked up by any of the platforms in their network? when does it get distributed anywhere. So so this is a really big flaw. Obviously, price-wise, local list is better than EX, but quality-wise, I would say EX is better.
The other question come in from I think it was from who did it came in from Martin. Do you think EX is better for new businesses rather than established businesses?
Yes, absolutely. I stand behind my words. Yes.
Okay, and what's your process for, imagine you've got an existing client who's got data out there. Some of that data is not too bad, some of it's okay, some of it's a little bit out of date, or the different sites have essentially mangled the address in some way. If you were to update the sort of the citation information at source, say at Localese or Axiom, and then have that kind of filter out and distribute down to the sites, do you have kind of confidence that just doing that alone will update or replace the existing information out there? Or do you feel you need to have a process where you go to individual sites and manage the information on each site in turn, as well as doing it at source?
No, I have personally absolutely no confidence in that, because I have seen it not working. So basically what happens with local list is that how the process of local list actually works is that when you create a listing or when you update a listing on local list, it goes into a private database which a number of their network partners have access to, and they can pull this data at any point of time which they like. So in the end of the day, it is really up to the partner. Let's say the partner CitySearch, although I'm not sure if CitySearch is partner of Localist, but let's say the partner CitySearch pulls information from Localist, and it is entirely up to CitySearch if it will cross-reference and cross-check and see if there's already some similar business data that exists in their own database, and would actually update this data with the newly incoming data that they just pulled from Localist. So in this sense, there's absolutely no guarantee that if you update a listing on Localist, it will get updated anywhere else on the web, even within their own network. And it is to be remembered that Localist's network doesn't cover all the citation sources that exist out there. It's the same with Axiom as well.
Okay, we've got one final question at this juncture, and everyone, a lot of questions coming through. Apologies if we haven't answered your specific question. We're trying to cover off the general topics that are getting answered. David, this is one for you here. Kind of go back to that previous question actually about if you've got many doctors in one location, how do you kind of manage that? A question that kind of came in from Daryl actually, saying, a lot of kind of doctors and dentists they kind of cover off in their business. Do you stress that actually, they usually put the clinic before themselves? And how do you kind of manage, I guess, the kind of politics of that? Or do you kind of always think, actually, I want to get as many listings out there so that I can dominate the SERPs? What's your sort of default position?
I don't really push it that way, to be honest, because when I do my presentation, you guys are going to see how the way I go about dominating it. But and again, I have probably 130, 40 active clients right now. I've only done the multiple space listings for maybe 17 of them or so, maybe a little bit more. But I don't push multiple listings. But there are times where it happens. Like right now, I'm dealing with a heart cardiologist facility, and it's one clinic, and there's multiple partners, and they all have a special different thing that they do. And so the first thing we did is we put up the company name. And after we started working with them and we got them to letter A, they started asking if we could promote individual doctors inside because they have a specialty that they do. So with that said, we started creating, putting the doctor's name. We would put an address on the second line, a suite that would be associated to them. We put a specific URL to them, and we put a specific phone number, like a call tracking number, to make the NAP as different as possible. But I don't push it, but that's how I handle it when it comes up.
So you're responsive to whichever particular client's requirements or position are?
Correct, because you have to start building them out consistently, and that's one of the things I bring up with the clients. Just understand, it's not just putting in Google plus local. We have to do this, times 100. So we do 3 doctors plus your main location. That's 400. There's a lot of effort that will go into it. So you might spread yourself thin on the budget, and we could be focusing that effort on other things. So how important is it to you? And that's when they tell me yes or no.
Wonderful. David, that's great. Guys, we're going to end the Q&A there. We're going to jump on to the next section, which is Mr. David Mosseri, who's talking there. So, David, I am now going to hand over control to you, and then we're away. Just give me a second. We're running about 10 minutes behind at this moment, guys. So, David, if you're able to accelerate through your section, that would be great, and then we'll have a further Q&A at the end.
Okay. I really don't have too much to say. I think Nigel pretty much covered it. No, I'm just joking. I'll whip through it. But he did great.
Yeah, David, you never have nothing to say. I think that's a complete lie.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, we can see your screen now. You're on the title page.
Okay, great. So what we're going to talk about is some advanced citation tricks today, and how I love to dominate the first page with citations. Now, everybody knows the basics of citations. If you don't, you are going to continue to obviously learn them. I'm not going to focus on that because of time. I'm going to act like everybody understands the basics and how to really excel it to expand your opportunities. Now, citations are very tedious, don't get me wrong, but they're absolutely critical. And a lot of people, they view citations kind of like an option, and it's really not an option, especially if you're a local business. So it is not an option at all. It's mandatory. It has to be part of the game plan, and it has to be something that's implemented out of the gate and done consistently. Like mentioned earlier, Google loves consistency. So I'm going to kind of break down how you should view citations. I'm going to go over some software strategies as well as some manual strategies to what has really helped significantly. Now, basically, how you should view citations. The best way to look at this is a citation is a checkpoint to Google. That's why the credibility, having the NAP all consistent, is very important, obviously. There's credibility. So as often as it finds it and finds it consistent, everything matching up, they're checkpoints. Obviously, when you go into Google and you look at reviews, you can notice that Google will, at the bottom, will say reviews from other websites. So those are checkpoints. They're showing them and deeming them as credible. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. So citations, as tedious as it can be, it's critical. It's very important for you. So now, next is pick your top 10 to 20 to manage. Now, as we all know, yes, there's hundreds of citations that you're going to be building, directories, whatever. But one of the things that a lot of people do is when they build them, they leave them. They're balancing so many different things that they just build them and they continue to build them, but they don't monetize or leverage them. And that's a very important thing that you'll have to do, and I'm going to show you why here in a moment. Now, when you pick 10 to 20, as you can see, I put up some examples. Now, everybody's in different countries, in different places, in different niches, so what they would deem to be their top sites is up to them. But whatever they are, you want to work them. You want to work them consistently. You want to work them almost like your money site, and you're going to see exactly why in a moment. And also, you want to treat them like buffer sites. Now, hopefully, a lot of you kind of been around doing the local SEO, and if you're new to it, you might not have heard this quite as much, but right now what is big is buffer sites. You don't want to send a lot of those links that a lot of people used to from SE Nuke and things like that to your money site. But you will want to do those with these citations, and I'm going to show you some of those tricks here and why this is absolutely critical for domination. And when I talk about treating them like a buffer site is building links to them. You know, just like you would to your website, you build links to these. You buy, if you want to do Fiverr gigs, a lot of people are scared of Fiverr gigs. I'd be very terrified too if I'm sending them to my money site. And remember, we're all doing a million things. We all have a lot. We have to pick and choose our battles. So when you do a Fiverr gig, it's probably because, you know, you don't have a lot of people on your team. Now, Niag is somebody that could probably definitely help you out and build directories and citations for you because he's amazing at it. But what I'm talking about is how to promote them, how to build them up and get those to rank, as you're going to see here in a minute, and also put up content on them. A lot of people don't take advantage of putting up blog posts on sites like Merchant Circle. So it's one of the things that they offer, you know, being able to put up content, articles, blog posts. Obviously, they say stay away from spun content. Don't touch spun content because it's bad for you. Yeah, you don't want to put that on your money site, but you can take a blog post that has credibility that you've created, you can spin that and throw them up on these directory sites, and I see them ranking all the time. They're constantly ranking. So you want to treat citation and directories as buffer sites. So let me go into why, and as we get there, I'm going to show you something. Now, as I put the PowerPoint together, I kind of obviously took images from all over the net, and this is probably one of the best one that describes it, and I kind of made some different examples of it. But you have your money site, right? And then you have your citations in Google+, Yelp, Facebook, Insider Pages, top niche sites, all these Bs. Well, a lot of people don't realize to build links to them. They don't even think about building links to them, but building links to them will drive the ranking. It builds the social activity, it builds the credibility. Why? Because these are authority sites for local SEO. Just like the chart that Miles was going over with everybody in the very beginning, talking about how it's changed from 2008 to 2013, well, these directory sites have become authorities. I mean, think about Yelp. Yelp, obviously, it drives a ton of traffic. You know, if Yelp wouldn't be having so much trouble with their review filters if people didn't care about it. They care about it, and that's why businesses care about it, because they know their audience does and their customers do. So these are authority sites. These are those Google checkpoints of credibility that help you in your business rank better.
David, can I just,
yes, sir.
we had a couple of questions come through, and I just thought I'd maybe kind of summarize my understanding of the kind of process that you're talking about. So your money site is your client's website, correct?
Correct.
And so what you're doing there is I guess you're kind of using techniques to build up citations, the authority of citations on core sites like Yelp and CitySearch. And you're using practices that you wouldn't use on your money site because they could be harmful to a smaller site that has less authority to begin with.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
But by doing it on a money site like Yelp that's got great domain authority, a hugely varied link profile, a great brand, you can put those I guess slightly frowned upon actions to good effect to promote the actual listing pages on those sites. So those listing pages themselves start to rank.
That's right. It will drive it to the top of the search engine, so you can start taking up multiple space on the first page rankings.
Great. Okay, so you expand your view there that you're not just optimizing an individual business and you know their website. You're actually optimizing their presence on a number of different sites and actually kind of building links, etc., into those additional touch points that business has on its Yelp profile.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I'm going to break down the reasons, which you could see the slide right now. Before I go on, did I answer everything?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I just wanted to make sure that I understood it and to kind of clarify for a couple of questions that had come through.
Now, here's a couple of things I want to add before I continue. You know, my days usually start around 3 a.m. I am an SEO. I love SEO. I love everything about it, but there's a lot of research, like the financial industry. You have to constantly keep up on it. You know, I'm all over Linda's posts constantly, which is great to be on this webinar with her because she's, you know, such a credible source in our industry. But there's lots of rumors going around. We all know about blog networks and how they've been hit, and we know that a lot of people buy high PR domains to kind of build. But Google, matter of fact, recently started removing PageRank from their browser, their toolbar. They've been talking about hiding PageRank for many different reasons. But there's something else that's been talked about is when you build these websites, these blog sites with high PageRank, and yeah, it's got a high PageRank, but there's no activity coming from these sites. And there's no social signals coming from these sites. Yeah, there's a link, but there's no traffic. There's no activity. And activity, folks, is the key thing here. And that's why you treat these sites like buffer sites, because they have their own built-in activity. So it's critical because Google deems them as authority. They see traffic. They have social signals. People are sharing them. So you could actually leverage these in a way that most people don't even think about. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. So I like to, put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to show that. Now, before I go there, this is what's very important. I grabbed this image from somewhere, and sometimes I've seen 93%, I've seen 98%. Bottom line is, if you're not on the first page, you're out of business. Pretty much. That's what really happens here. So you imagine the majority of that traffic fighting for 6% on that second page. And the more slots you can take up on that first page, the better leverage you get, right? So let me show you why this is critical. Slide yesterday, we had the 7. It's usually 5 or 6 of them. But again, it just goes to show you that the tactic's continuing to work. This is a real simple way to crush it. Everybody looks at it a little bit differently. These directories and citations have built-in traffic and social signals, which equal activity. That's what Google is looking for, is activity. Recently, they said to get better rankings, you need more traffic. Well, people say, well, how does that make sense? So what came first, the chicken or the egg? How can I get traffic if I'm not ranking? Well, this is how you do it. You monetize and you leverage the gatherings where people are. You go to network meetings, because there's a bunch of business people there, right? So you're leveraging that to get in front of them, and this is the same way to be able to do it. And again, these are authority sites for local SEOs. So it's very, very important. All right. Now, software you can use. As we all know, there's software like Scrapebox, ScrapeJet, EvaPro, Instant Traffic software. These are all site software that most people either own or have, but they are scared to use these softwares on their websites because they've heard so much negative about it. And you know what? It's a very fair statement to say that that's a good thought. You don't want to be using these on your money sites, especially when you're kind of abusing that. Now, with Scrapebox, I'm going to show you a little technique that I do and how really, really simple it is. It's going to blow your mind. ScrapeJet is just a simplified version. EvoPro, SENuke, all you're using these to do is build links to the directory listings. Now, remember, those are the buffer sites, and these are, and I'll go back real quick here. Okay, maybe go back here. When I showed you the buffer sites, okay, come on, you can do it. I'm not sure why it's not showing. Okay. Anyhow, I'm running into a issue where it's not showing, so I apologize.
What's wrong, Dave? Are you trying to jump to different slides in your presentation?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of go back, and it's not letting me. So let me go here. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to try and speed this up. These links right here, that go to the directories, this is where I would use the software. This is where I'd use it. Listen, again, you own it, you have it, you're using it. Let me show you how to use it in a positive way to build the credibility of the listing. So I wanted to get back to this slide to be able to show you that. Now, with Scrapebox, this is all I do. It's real simple, guys. Here's my citation. The company name, the address, the suite, you want to keep it consistent, so however you do it. address, phone number, and then the URL that you put isn't your money site, it's the directory. You know, a lot of times if you go onto a blog and you go to comment, you can put your name and ask for an email and ask for a URL. Well, that URL that you're going to be doing it with, you're going to use the citation, the directories. So that's something that you're going to want to do. Now, here's a Yelp example. Here's a Facebook example. As you can see, the same thing. The only thing that changed down here was Facebook, the URL that it went to. So everything is remaining the same. Why? Because there's a consistency. When it goes back to Facebook, it finds that NAP, which goes back to the site. Same thing, here's the yellow pages. So it's a very, very easy thing to do. Now, if you don't know Scrapebox, that's fine. You could get somebody on Fiverr to be able to do these things. The next thing I would do is when I open up Scrapebox, or even when you get the Fiverr gigs, they give you back all the URLs that it created. I use Scrapebox to go through and see which ones of those are indexed. Once I find, you know, if they did 300, usually about 50 of them are actually indexed, and then I build links to those 50, and it works like a charm. So it's something that is a great way to be able to do it, and that's the software overview. Now, other ways that you can do it, what is huge right now is curated content. Curated content is big, and going back to the term GAC, Google approved content. You know, Eric Schmidt talked about there's so much content coming out they can't decipher, you know, who's who and who's doing what and where it originated from. And if you look at sites like Mashable and other sites where they talk about industry standards, like what Linda puts together, they're always talking about what's going on in the industry. We're so focused on making our own content when there's people like Linda who's creating amazing content that we could promote and share. We share the source of it, and inside this curated content, you just put a little brief summary of what you think about it and kind of overview it and put a link back to Linda's post, for example. I'm using Linda because I read her stuff often. And at the bottom of it, you can go ahead and put in your address, your citation at the very bottom of it. And when you do curated content, I have people who take my content all the time. Hundreds and hundreds a week come in from curated content. And they're using mine, and guess what? They're displaying it and they're sharing it, and my citations are slowly being spread all over the internet. You can put them at the bottom of your blogs for the same reasons. Articles, when you post articles on certain sites. Remember, a citation is a reference of your information. So for time's sake, I'll just
David, you're talking about using this content on other sites that aren't your client site, aren't your money site, right?
Actually, when I do my curated content, like on HeyGoTo, it will be my money site. So because it's industry specific, it's not spun content. It's me talking about things that are going on in the industry and what's changing. So the curated content isn't scraped content. It's me referencing an article that, say, Linda wrote and why I think it's great, and here's some points of how I feel about what she's referring to. So it would be your own blog post that would be put on your site, and then gets distributed by others that deem you to be credible.
Okay, is that, when you say distribute, is that them taking that content by RSS, or
it could be RSS? It could be Zamanta. I use Zamanta a lot. I get a lot of people using my Zamanta because I share their links. So it's a variety of ways that any way that somebody could grab content from your site and share it, you would be able to, you know, do that. And I could show you more examples, and I was going to, but for time's sake, I won't.
And so in this case, if you had a client like your Jiu-Jitsu client, you would write a blog piece on their site, and then you would include the site their citation information in the footer of that article.
Every single one of them. And here's one of the reasons why this works really successful for this particular client. He's the current world champion. He's the heavyweight champion, and he's the ultra champion. He's the only person in history to do it. So his content is taken by MMA gyms from all over the country, and you can see what the results are from them taking it and your citations now being on their sites.
Okay, and so these are kind of, would you classify these as unstructured citations?
Yeah, I guess you could. I mean, it's as simple as throwing just the content. It's just referencing it, and the URL in this case would be your main URL to the money site because they're taking it from your site, and you want that love to go back to your site.
Sure. And I think those of you who may not understand the difference between structured citations and unstructured, and it's actually becoming very interesting to look at unstructured citations. So say Yelp, for example, where it's got a clear name, address, phone number that often uses good kind of semantic markup using schema.org so that Google can read it. That's a structured citation with a specific purpose. An unstructured citation is like what David's talking about, where you've got the the NAP content within a blog post, which is just part of that blog post, where it doesn't have the all the kind of sort of structured kind of markup around it. Or maybe you've got a review for a restaurant on a newspaper site, for example, and at the footer of that page, it's just got the address information for how you can kind of locate the restaurant. That's kind of unstructured citations. Actually, when we did the expert citation survey, a lot of the experts talked about the kind of growing value of unstructured citations. And if you get an unstructured citation on a very high value site, then it's almost as good as a structured citation on a high value site. So
agreed.
It's not just directories we can focus on, because the universe of directories is actually quite limited, particularly the higher value ones. But there's a lot more particularly kind of high value sites out there where you can actually create unstructured citations, and Google is getting more intelligent about identifying your address in an unstructured sense and then using that as a citation to boost your ranking.
Correct. And I find it to be very successful because, again, you're putting your information there. You do put an anchor text. The anchor text is a raw URL. I don't throw any keywords or anything like that because I want it to be natural. And also whenever it's on a page full of content that's relevant, that goes back to a page full of content that's relevant, structured or not, there's a lot of benefits to that. So that's a very important element that we found to have success with that. So we've used it in every different way, just deeming again a checkpoint of credibility. Now here's a couple other things that I've been doing. Now adding to forms. I do a lot of open source software, and I'm not talking about using like Link Blaster or anything like that. But for example, a lot of times you can do signatures, right? So if you're in the Warrior Forum or wherever you're at, you can make your signature your address, your citation, and that actually has worked significantly as well. So it's like we're constantly reminding them who we are, and hey, yeah, that's me. I'm the one who wrote this content. Yeah, this is me over here. I've seen, again, the sites start ranking like crazy because think about this. When you look at your data, you got your no follows and your follow tags, right? How natural does it look if everything's follow? It doesn't, and that's why I treat structured data and unstructured data pretty close to the same, because it's not natural just to have one of anything. You have to diversify. So that's one of the things that I've been doing, and the forums have been, working well. If you're in the forum and you're constantly communicating, put it in your signature your address, your citation. I noticed that to work. And I did it recently. And here's another one. Now, I want to bring this up here. This is a new method I've been testing. I've taken it from letter D to letter A. Now, this has only been about 45 days. I'm sharing this because I found a positive from it. It's, not been documented. I don't know of others doing it. A buddy did share it with me. I won't, say his name here, but he did share this with me, and he's seen the same types of results. So on your main website, in the metadata, put your citation. Now, when I run my mouse over this image, this is what pops up. Remember, when you're constantly dealing with clients and you have the nightmare of Google not being it's very quirky, it's always having issues, and you're trying to figure out how to move your stuff along and move it up from C to D, or I'm sorry, from C to A. You're trying different things. That's what we do. And here's something that I tested, and with success, I didn't put the URL in it, just put the NAP, and all of a sudden, 15, 17 days later, it's letter A. So on the website, I put the metadata, which a lot of people are like, Google's not a meta engine. So, they don't look at that. Okay, so maybe that's the case. But here's something I found that has worked. So just because you put, like on WordPress, where you can check off discourage the search engines to go through, trust me, they're still going through it. They're still checking everything. They're reading it. They're calculating it. They just might not be sharing that or indexing it with public, but they're taking all that information in like an intake form. So this is something that I've just been testing out. You're more than welcome to try it out. Again, don't want anybody to.
David, you putting that in? You putting that in kind of image alt tags as well as kind of meta descriptions, or which where are you kind of placing that?
I just put it in the meta description. I don't put it in the alt tag.
Just meta description. Okay.
And sometimes it varies because, again, since we've been doing this recently, we've been actually testing both. But this is the one we've seen success with. So we have put it in the alt tag only just to wonder, when you do a test, you do it on multiple things to be able to gauge instead of just one. Now, one last thing that I want to share with everybody that I thought is kind of cool. Obviously, something that I've seen huge success with is responding to reviews with keywords. So, for example, if you're a roofing company and they said that, so-and-so did this for our company, they did an absolute great job, professional job, we would respond, thank you, Linda. We think we're very excited that you're happy, and if you know anybody else that's looking for a roof replacement, please send them to us, and something along that nature. We're throwing in keywords inside of the reviews. So a lot of people have different tools. There's all kinds of plugins. There's software. But I want to just show you something that's kind of cool, an extension. And basically, it's called Open Multiple Pages. And I'll show you an example of it here. So just pop this open. Click right here. You want to have a text format of it. You keep it in text file. And then you click Open. And what takes place here is you're going to start seeing all of these directories open. Now, why do I do that? We do it every day at the beginning of the day. All the main directories, remember, I talked about managing 10 to 20 directories. You want to pick those. You put them in here, you load them up, and you go in, and then you want to respond to any and every new one. Every single time, you just kind of go through it. When you respond to them, you respond again. Thank you very much. You try and put keywords in there, and I have noticed that the rankings for those rise up when you throw those keywords in there. Now, you still want to be proper. You still want to say thank you, and you don't want to look spammy or like you're, don't speak proper English. You just want to try and throw it in there subtle. And you don't have to do it every single time, but as much as possible, we've noticed, a great success with that. So this little simple Chrome extension called Open Multiple Pages, you just simply throw them in there, and somebody on my team found this, the person who has to check the reviews every day, goes in there and, constantly keeping up reviews shows what, folks? Activity. Google loves activity, and with that activity, your rankings will start coming up. So with that, I think I'll stop there. I had a couple other slides, but I think that for time's sake, we are good.
David, that's great. Thank you very much. A lot of questions coming through. Some very interesting debate around the validity of Black Hat techniques. So we'll kind of come on to that in a second. Before we do that, I'm just going to grab back control to me, myself the presenter, so everyone just bear with us. We're just going to do a quick poll, by the way, before we go into questions. Let me hope you can see my screen. I'm going to launch that poll now. Basically, we've got some upcoming webinars we want to run. I just wanted to kind of canvass opinion for which topics you want us to kind of cover in those. So on the screen, you'll see the different topics that we're proposing. If you could just take 5 minutes just to select the topics you'd like us to cover, just pick 3 of those. Then we'll know which topics to cover in upcoming webinars. So if everyone could just take a minute to vote, we'll literally just run this for a minute, and then we'll go straight to the Q&A for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll probably draw a line under this. So we've got 30% of people voted and climbing, which is great. Very interesting what's coming in. 50%. It'd be lovely if we can get up to 70%, guys. So if you could just put your kind of mouse on the 3 you'd like to see us do most, that would be wonderful. We've got 6% of people voted, still going up, slowing up a little bit. It'd be lovely if everyone can give their opinion so we know what everyone wants. 65%. And Okay, tell you what, let's, we're going to close the poll in 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's great. We've got up to 75% of people voted, so that's excellent. Just out of interest, everyone wants to know what the results were. People want to hear the most about optimizing for service area businesses, which is what Linda told me you all wanted to know. So Linda, again, you were right. I was wrong. I actually thought people might understand about outsourcing and managing remote workers, but that was actually the least favorable topic. So it looks like we'll be doing something on service area businesses, also on mobile optimization, and also on the kind of top local ranking factors kind of panel discussion. So guys, that's great feedback. We will look to kind of curate those webinars for you and bring you that great content. So we hit our kind of 90 minutes, but for those of you who can hang on, I'm going to jump to a kind of Q&A sort of session now. And as I said a second ago, a lot of people have, I guess, come through and said, hey, this is all black hat stuff. Is, you know, should we really be doing this? What's the long-term value of it? You know, should we be teaching, you know, potentially newbies in the industry about these tactics? And I think, obviously, as you're kind of learning a topic, if you're new to SEO, you want to understand the full gambit of what is possible and what's out there, and then make a decision for yourself about which you want to use. You know, by having the knowledge of what's possible, you can discern, you know, where you sit in terms of, you know, kind of black hat, white hat, or which approaches kind of work for you. David has obviously had great success in kind of delivering these kind of techniques, and I think it's definitely kind of worth sort of testing some of them out. I mean, David, how would you address the general concern that people are voicing about these tactics mainly not being so above board and short-termist?
I completely understand that. You know, there's so much confusion and back and forth with what certain people say. I can agree to it, and that's why I'm telling you a lot of those things that I would be doing, I would not be sending them to the money site. Not because it's going to, you know, because I'm doing black hat, because I don't want to be sending spammy links to my main money site. We've proven that you can rank with a lot less. But when it comes to black hat techniques, I'm not sure how building links to specific sites would be you know, something that would be considered black hat. A lot of people, for example, I can show you local listings I have in Google Places that are letter A, and I'm using Facebook. So they don't even have a website. So letter A out of G is Facebook coming up, and I have Yelp coming up #1 for letter A. So again, if you didn't have a website and you were using these as your site and you deemed to be able to build it, all you're doing is building links to it, and that's all I'm doing. I'm using the momentum and the traffic and the activity that's already consistent there, and I'm leveraging it. So in no way do I feel that this is black hat. All I'm doing is sharing my information, and that information happens to be one of the directories or citations, not just my money site at this particular point. You know, with any type of SEO, you could deem it gray hat, you know, and I can completely understand where people might feel that it's black hat, but again, that's not the way that I deem it to be, and that's why I think that I've seen a lot of the results and success over the last few years. Will it change? You know, I can't say it won't change. I can tell you this, that it's been consistent for a long time, and all you're simply doing is building the activity and making people aware of it. That's it. But I'd love to answer more questions on it, so if anybody wants to get specific, please.
Okay, we've got some other kind of questions that are coming. I'm going to bring Nyaig back in. Nyaig, hopefully you're still with us and not asleep. It's nearly 3:30 a.m.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay, great. Nyaig, someone has asked a question about when you're building Citation, the descriptions that you use. How valuable is using either kind of location terms or industry terms within the descriptions? Or do you prefer to kind of build descriptions for users to make the business sound compelling, or do you kind of focus on the SEO potential of descriptions?
I would say, but I wanted to mention something. I noticed that there were some comments about my English. I can definitely understand that, and I should have probably said right. English is not my native language, so it's definitely not perfect.
No, you've done great.
So sorry if I caused any problems.
No, you've done great. You're a Bulgarian living in Malaysia, and it's 3 a.m. I think everyone can understand that and appreciate.
Okay.
You've done a great job. Your English is a lot better than my Bulgarian. In fact, any other language I speak is a lot better. So
Sure.
don't worry about it.
Sure, sure. Okay, so regarding descriptions, I wouldn't necessarily go into too much spam and into too much, getting too involved into keyword stuffing the description on different citation sources. And why this is so is because basically a business listing should serve as a citation source more than as a as a source of additional SEO related to the website. At least that's how I see it. And some additional keywords in the description, I don't think they really make a major difference. What would make difference is if you have chosen the particular listing. So as I mentioned in the beginning, category is probably the fourth most important information bit out there. So I would rather focus on choosing the correct categories and choosing as many categories as possible that are relevant to my business, rather than keyword stuffing the description. I would keep the description as human as possible.
Okay, that's great. So why is it exactly that categories are becoming more important?
Okay, so basically how it works is like this. Google has the following process in place. They standardize and rinse and group data that they find on different sources around the web. So normally when they find different variations of the business name of the business, in the end of the day, what they will do is that they'll publicly display only one variation of the name. They'll display only one variation of the address. They'll display only one variation of the phone number. The only information piece that they will not they will not rinse and standardize and cluster within particular under one. They will not unify it. Is the categories, so they will add additional categories rather than group them together. So it is really important that you choose your categories wisely. And additionally, the most important signal that Google is looking into when determining what particular business is the category that it could associate with the particular citations of this business. So in the end of the day, the category tells Google this business is this. So if your category is personal injury attorney, obviously you are not a pet groomer, right? So basically that's the importance of the categories. And yeah,
how many if you were to say, what's the optimum number of categories you would want to kind of list in? Do you try and go for 5, 10, as many as possible?
I wouldn't necessarily, basically I don't really like to abuse anything, so I would not go into extremes. If on the particular website there are 5 categories that are relevant to my business, I would definitely like to choose 5. If there are just 2 categories that are relevant to my business, then I'll just choose 2. I'll not try to overdo it and go into a space that can result into something negative.
Sure, that's a very good bit of advice. Again, actually, kind of when I was speaking to a number of the SEOs who completed the kind of citation survey, was that they follow the rules that are sort of stated by each of the different sites they submit to. So the kind of submission rules that they have, and each site, each kind of directory site, is essentially owned by an individual business, unless they're part of a wider netlet like kind of Citigrid, for example. So they each have their own kind of submission guidelines and rules. So kind of staying on the right side of that, not abusing it, is going to kind of work best for you, because you won't have problems with citations being taken down or slow publishing, or any kind of comeback from the directory back to the client saying you haven't done this correctly, which can look bad on you as an agency. So I think now you've got to kind of tone the line in terms of the different kind of directories rules, and don't fall foul of that. And that's kind of a good kind of consistent policy to take. given that actually people want to have a specific webinar on service area businesses, we get quite a few people asking us, because at BrightLocal we run a kind of citation submission service, which I will mention in a little bit because people have asked some questions about that. Is there any value in building citations for service area businesses that don't want to publish their address? My stuck answer is usually no to that, but maybe you've had different experiences.
Okay, so as far as I understand, the question is if there is any difference in the value of building such citations, or is the question if there's any difference at all in building citations for such businesses?
I mean, can it be done if you're not willing to publish your address?
Okay. So there are a number of business directories that allow businesses to hide their address. This is one point that has to be taken into account, and as far as I remember, Phil Rozek has a great article and a compilation of some of the most important business directories that allow the business owner to hide their address.
Okay, so that's on Phil Rozak's site, is that list of sites?
Yes, so it's the website is localvisibilitysystem.com.
Localvisibilitysystem.com. Maybe Linda can put a link in the chat for everyone to go to Phil's site. He's going to get
I've got the link at my forum too. I just have to go find it.
Okay, wonderful.
Sure.
That'd be great. I'm sure it'd be really valuable to everyone.
I'll post it in the Q&A at my forum for this webinar. Oh, Michael just posted it in the Q&A.
Yeah, Michael is quick.
Yes.
It's like the Michael Johnson, the athlete.
Okay, so
he's faster than Michael Johnson, the athlete. Okay, Nyai, back to you.
Yeah, so basically something that I wanted to mention as well is that it is not necessary that a citation includes the business name, address, and phone number. A citation can consist just of the business name. A citation can consist just of the phone number. The end goal is that Google can determine with sufficient trustworthiness and with sufficient accuracy that particular information is related to particular business. So obviously for Google it would be easiest to do that if all the three the name, address, and phone number are present on particular web page. But even if only two of these are present, it would still be relatively okay for Google to understand that this citation is for this particular business.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to ask a couple of questions that Joe Shiraz has posted, because Joe has posted a number of questions and we haven't asked any of his yet. So Joe, apologies for that. Joe's question was, are there any kind of cheap and effective services for building citations? So I'm going to probably answer this firstly, then I'll probably sort of pass on to kind of Nyag or David to answer that. So Joe's question was, are there any kind of cheap and effective services for handling sort of citations? And BrightLocal as a business started off life as an SEO agency, kind of serving local customers, and we've done citation building, every which way that's sort of possible, using a whole range of kind of different services, doing it in-house, trying to do it automated, build software, and we've really kind of come at it from every single angle. And what we've discovered is that because of what you're trying to do, you're actually trying to build this thing and submit content to a number of different sites, and each of those sites is owned by a different business, which has got its own different submission policies, own editorial teams, its own personality, its own problems, etc. That it's a very kind of fragmented sort of process of what you're trying to achieve, and because of that, it's quite complicated and complex and time-consuming. And what I've found in the services that I've used, the outsourced services that will do submissions for under $1, is that they can often create more problems than they can improve ranking and improve SEO. The reason is that if you're doing it under $1, you've got to do it high-paced, fast, really speedy. You've really got to kind of systemize the sort of process, and that doesn't allow you to take into consideration the research steps, looking for duplicate listings, starting to understand the business, making sure the information you've got up front is correct, and you don't go and submit a bunch of wrong information to sites before the client has realized that, hey, I've given the wrong number, or I've given the wrong street address. Just because when you're doing it at volume on all these different sites, you've got to do it fast, and the cheaper it gets, the less time they have to focus on the quality, to focus on the research aspect of it. I often think it's it's a false economy to spend too little on citation building because it's so important to your success in local search, that it really is something that you should spend money on doing right. You haven't got to spend the earth, and I personally think services like Yext are very expensive for what you get, and a lot of people said they add trimmings to the kind of good local listings in the first place, but once you come out of the Yext ecosystem, often a lot of those listings kind of roll back to their original state, or that data is kind of removed entirely. So we've built our citation-based services as a middle ground to that. We charge between $2 and $3 per submission that we do, and that gives us a bit of enough money to spend enough amount of time kind of doing the research, also checking for duplicate citations, and adding in a kind of quality and QA layer to the process that we go through. So my personal experience of doing it is that you really can't shortcut the process, and spending too little actually ends up creating more problems for you than it does good. Nige, what would you think about the way you approach building citations, and how do you value kind of cheap sort of services out there?
I can completely relate to what you said, Miles. Basically, in the end of the day, if you build citations, if I call it that way, if you build citations for under $1 per citation, it means that either you are doing it very sloppily, not really doing any kind of research work, or you are not really double checking anything, you are just doing everything very mechanically, or you are just you're probably outsourcing to some poor soul that is doing this just to earn their pocket money for whatever activity they would like, and they're probably some freelancer from wherever. I don't want to quote countries, but from wherever, and it's just sad. And in the end of the day, I would not do that, not just from quality point of view, but also from morale point of view, if I could say this. Anything else, I think you described it perfectly.
Sure. We do a lot of citations. We do it the whole time. We have a team of 25 guys who work in-house for us who build citations. Joe, who asked a question earlier, has just said, he's got an outsourced team, but their reliability isn't great. It's not 100%, it's closer to 60%. Do you ever find, and do you ever think there is a perfect way of doing citations, or do you think citations is fraught with problems just by the very nature of what you're trying to do, and you have to accept that that's the case? How would you say I'm wrong in that? Would you say I'm right?
No, I think you are absolutely right. I think in the end of the day, no matter how particular you are, how perfect you try to do everything, you are definitely prone to face problems with citations. It's mostly because different websites have problems at different times. At different times, they might have some technical problems, or in general, a lot of the citation sources, especially the ones that are of do not have the technical sophistication to resolve some issues, even simple ones like updating some of the business profiles that are incorrect. So in general, it is impossible to be perfect with citations.
Yeah, I think it's and I used to work at a local directory before I kind of got into kind of doing kind of sort of local search, and obviously kind of where we are today, and we used to take our data in from a kind of third party. They would push it up to us kind of once a week. We would update our database probably once every 3 months. And that was basically just down to kind of time and resource constraints that we had. And if you kind of think about that, from all the data that goes to the localies, and you've got to think that all these individual sort of sites that kind of consume that data are run by guys trying to make money. And there's not a ton of money out there in the local directory space below the likes of Yelp and CityGrid. Even like the CityGrid are cutting back their staff because they're struggling to kind of monetize their service and kind of make it work. So you think about the kind of tier one solutions, what resources have they got to staff their teams to kind of run them both kind of technically from a kind of customer service and editorial perspective? They run on a very thin skeleton staff, which is when you're trying to do kind of updates to existing citations that you can't take control of yourself. So you're submitting a request, or you're submitting a request to remove a duplicate. Often that just gets shoved at the backlog of a very, very long list of similar requests that they literally haven't got the manpower to work through. And that's frustrating, and we get frustrated about it because we want to do as good a job as possible and as perfect a job as possible, but we're not in control of the whole process end to end. We've got to rely on these sites kind of taking that information in and actually kind of acting upon it. So it's probably not a particularly kind of positive note to end the kind of webinar on, but I think it's a reality that people have to accept and try and educate their clients around, that citations are extremely useful, that data drives the internet, and you've got to have accurate, clean data in as many places as possible. But it's never going to be 100% perfect because of a myriad of issues and influences upon that data. So guys, we've run over time. I would like to thank all the speakers for taking part. For those of you who stuck with us, great, thank you very much for that. Any unanswered questions that we haven't got to can be posted onto the local search forum, and Linda and myself will be kind of monitoring that and answering it over the next kind of week or so. I have put together some interesting information which you might like, which is top 10 citation sources. And I'm not going to dwell on this, but I've got these for the different countries, and this is basically based off our citation tracker reports. We've run over 100,000 citation tracker reports since we've had the tool, and these are the sites that appear most commonly in our kind of citation reports. And on here I've got the top ones for the different countries, but I've also got the top 50 sources for each country, and that can be accessed at this address on BrightLocal. You can download that and use that, so that will show you the top 50 citation sites we've got for the US, top 50 Canada, top 50 UK, top 50 Australia. Download it, use it. I hope you find it sort of beneficial. That's taken from a very, very large data pool of citation tracker reports that we've generated over the last 18 months. So that data comes with a lot of kind of qualification. So please kind of download that and use that at will. We've got a couple of upcoming webinars on the 25th looking at local reputation management with Don Campbell, Phil Rosa, and myself. And then we do have a webinar scheduled with Linda to look at kind of Google plus local advanced troubleshooting. The date was set for October. We're going to have to push that back a little bit for a few reasons. We will have an update to the schedule based off the poll and the feedback you gave us tonight, so look out for that. We will communicate it soon. And you can register for the different webinars at these two URLs. And that is it. Again, thank you very much to David. Thank you very much to Nyag. It's very late where you are. Guys, I really appreciate you taking the time for sharing your tips, advice, and insight. It's been fantastic. Thank you, everyone who's been on the webinar tonight. Take care. Have a great day. And I hope to speak to you all very soon and see you on our next webinar. Thank you to Linda also. Okay. Good night.
Thank you, Miles.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.